Hey everyone, I'm gonna give people another couple minutes to get in here, and then we'll start maybe 2-3 minutes from now. Thanks. Okay, let me know in the chat if you guys can see my screen here with the intake, the template editor. All right, thanks, Joe. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started, and I will record this. So if you want to go back, you don't have to take notes or anything. You can go back and watch the video. So we're going to go a little bit into advanced techniques on the intake forms. Hopefully everyone in here isn't looking for how to do the fields and things like that, because we went over that yesterday. That will be posted up later today in the help.opentoclose.com. So today we're going to go into a little bit more, spend some more time on triggers, form conditions, and also what it looks like on the approval end, how the task templates come in, how the trigger templates come in, things of that nature. So does anyone have any questions before we get started? Go ahead and put them in the chat. All right, sounds good. Well, let's get into it then. So this is your template intake form. So this is under the hammer icon, templates, and then agent intake forms. And then you can select which form. This one is called demo intake. So in the demo intake, as we went over yesterday, there's a lot of different tabs here. You can go in the fields, choose which fields you want the agent to see, which ones are required, which ones a TC is going to see, which ones are required by the TC. You can also look in your other tabs here. Some of those I'm not going to deal with today, but if you have multiple states, it's a good place to put your field groups. I prefer all my dates and my fields to be in one tab, so I don't have to switch back and forth, but everyone has a different preference. So whatever you feel most comfortable, you can create as many of these as you want. Under the documents tab, you have all the documents that are required. In this form, I just have one big folder called all contract documents. You can get super granular with these, and you can also add them as part of the form builder, the form conditions, which I'll show you in a little bit. You got your contacts. These are the contacts that are going to be required. We'll go over this in a minute. And you can put in visible contacts for them to see in case they have this information. They can go ahead and add these as well. Review tab is just, you can enter some instructions for them when they get to that review screen. When they get to the submitted screen, you can type in stuff. We'll get to these here in a second. You got internal instructions that come up for the TC. So if you have things that you want the TC to do every single time before this becomes a transaction, you can go ahead and type these in. So just say instruction number 1, and go ahead and add that. And then you can say instruction number 2, and you'll see where these come in. I'll actually go ahead and leave those in there so you can see how this looks on the TC approval end. In the settings, you want to make sure all this is set up. You don't have to do these, but if you do the weekend roll and the federal holiday roll, you want to make sure they're both backwards or both forwards. You don't want them to roll forward from the weekend and roll backwards from a Monday holiday and get stuck not knowing where to go. That will jam up your system. So if you're going to roll forward, I usually use the weekend roll for rollback if it's to my escrow officer or my lender. I do that on individual tasks. I don't really set it here. So, but if I have an email going out to a lender and it lands on a Sunday, I want to go ahead and roll that back to Friday so they get it before the weekend. All right, layout. You can move this around however you want it to be visually for the agent to see. You can go ahead and just drag and drop these up and down. And then the design, I have a logo in here, and I also have, and I think my logo is actually too big, so it's not showing up. We'll check it out when I get over here, and then you can do the background color as well. Okay, so let's go down a little bit more detail on fields here. So you can see I have a couple things required by my agent here. I want the contract title, which is automatically going to populate from the address. I have the contract status, so whether it's pending or we have a couple different things in Arizona that you can choose from. Under active, but under contract, accepting backups, things like that. Contract client type, this is usually buyer seller. You can add other ones in there if you do commercial, if you do land, however you want to do this. This will trigger, you can use that to trigger a bunch of other things in the future. Okay, over here, the green is what the TC sees, and this is what's required. I went ahead and put these as required, even though these are already required over here, just in case. I don't know how it would slip through, but just in case, I'm just double checking those. You can see that I have some information here on do you have lockbox and property access information. This is for the agent to see. If they say yes on this, I'm going to show you in the form builder where all these fields come in. So I want to know if they have a gate code, an alarm code, a CBS code, all the different things that you could possibly have. And then down here a little further, they are required to put the acceptance date in. Also the contract delivery date. In Arizona, the date that the contract was delivered is the date that the dates start. So it doesn't matter if they signed it on Tuesday. If we deliver it on Wednesday, the inspection period starts on Thursday. So just to kind of explain this and why I have two different dates that seem the same. So I don't require the agent to put in the close of escrow or the purchase amount or any of this information. This can be, but if they have it, they can type it in if they know it off the top of their head. But I do have it as a required field for the TC because these are going to trigger other things in the background that we'll get to later. Has the earnest money been arranged? If they say yes on this, we're going to want to know who it's been arranged with, the amount, all that good stuff. That's automatically going to come in from our conditions. You don't need to worry about any of this stuff. Has the inspection been scheduled? If it's yes, you'll see in the form builder where we have, if yes, is it confirmed with the listing agent, and can you add the day and time? So I'll show you that as well. Some other things just in case they have it. If they want to type it in, great. If they don't, no big deal. We have this one that's required, the inspection period length. If it differs from our boilerplate 10, it's going to, and we'll actually type in like 15 or something just so you can see how that overwrites the 10, redoes all the dates, updates calendars, and it sets all my reminders off of the correct end of inspection period versus the 10-day boilerplate that's in our contract. Okay, I'll skip down through some of this. And then you also see, let's see, we'll skip the, okay, so one thing that I did in here from when I first started the program, we didn't have all the cool features that you guys have, so I did it backwards of what I would do now. As you can see, I have all these fields in for the TC to see, but it's a septic section. We only have septic on probably 5 to 10% of our properties in Arizona, so if I had to do it over again, I would delete all these. I would have no green here. And then when we get to the triggers, I would say, if septic is checked yes, then go ahead and bring in all these fields. So that's the only thing I would do different is all the special conditions I would bring in through triggers on the back end, which you'll see in a second. And then let's see, I have some special conditions for the agent to fill out as well. You can do this on the TC side. It works either way. I like the agents to fill it out, but, and I'll show you that in the form when we get to it. Okay, so that's fields, and that's how I set up my fields. Like I said, any special conditions, things that happen under 50% of the time, I would probably leave these off. I would leave them blank and then just have a trigger in the trigger menu to say, if there's a well, bring in the well fields. If there's a septic, bring in the septic fields. If there's an HOA, bring in the HOA fields. Okay, let's go to Form Builder next, the form conditions. I always call it Form Builder because it's just easier for people to remember what the intentions of these two things are. Form conditions is, as the agent's filling out the form, it's going to add additional fields based on their responses. So that's why I call it Form Builder. The triggers are on the back end after the agent has submitted. Then what do you want me to do? What fields do you want me to add? What templates do you want me to add? Date templates, task templates, trigger templates, whatever you want can be added automatically based on the answers of the agent or the TC. So we'll get into that. So let's go into form conditions because that is a little bit easier to understand. So if the field has the inspection been scheduled already and the agent checks yes to that, what do I want to happen? So we have this here, it's called edit assets. So you're gonna have a couple of different choices here. If they say that yes, the inspection's been scheduled already, then I'm gonna put in a field that says, has it been confirmed with the listing agent? And then they'll have a yes or no answer. And also, can you confirm the day and time so the TC is not trying to track down that day and time if you schedule inspections for your agents. You can also add contact roles. So if it's already been scheduled, maybe you would require the inspector's name to be put in here and their business name or whatever you need in contact roles. You can make it required or not required. You can dynamically add documents. So you can say, if the inspection's already been scheduled, then, well, I don't know what document would be added, but if it was septic, it may be a septic addendum that you want from them. You can also attach the file role automatically to that. I like to physically set my file roles so that I know that when my automation is happening, I don't want something to accidentally happen that I didn't intend. And then you have additional instructions, like I showed you earlier, where I put instruction 1, instruction 2. You can have instructions just based on this answer. So if the inspection has been scheduled already, then I just may want to tell my TC to do 1 or 2 extra things. So that's what the assets are. Is there a home warranty? If that's equal to yes, I'm going to go ahead and add all my home warranty fields for the agent. They're not required, but if they have this information, they can go ahead and fill it in. It also has some contact rules that would come in if I said yes to the home warranty. So I want the company name and the contact at that company if they have it. Notice they're not required because they may not have this information yet. It may be a TBD and there may be no contact. I may just have to call the main number. Okay, no document and no internal instructions on that one. We'll skip this one. This is specific to me. We charge a lot of buyer paid commissions on top of what the seller's paying us. Is an agent do a referral fee or an agency? So like if you work with Op City or I don't know, Home Light, one of those that charges you a 20 to 40% referral fee for when they give you clients, come in here and then it's going to ask who was it referred by, the referral percentage, the flat fee, the referral agent, the referral agreement if they have it. So you can get super granular with this and start adding things as they go through. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you get the idea of what these are for. The one that we are going to tackle today is septic. So I will open that one. So if septic is yes, it's going to put in all these fields. It's going to ask for the septic inspector and pumping recommended person. So if the agent has a recommended person for the septic inspection and the pumping, they can go ahead and add those, and those will automatically be added to my emails with my smart blocks. And then you have a document coming in. So.
Hey, Andrew, just while we're here in the conditions, we did have a question about those. Andrew was wanting to know, or Andrew Wolf was wanting to know if you can do a condition based on a number field. For example, if field for earnest money is not equal to 0, something like that.
I know we are working on that. I don't know if the changes have been pushed up. We could try it. Let me think of how I can try that on here. Yeah, let me do this. Go ahead and add one. We'll go ahead and try it. So let me say if property field, I got to remember which ones are coming in for my, let me see if I have a number field here that I can find real quick. No, I don't have any in here that are coming in naturally. So I will test that for you, Andrew, and I'll check it out. I can't do it right now because I don't have a number field in here that easily accessible, but it will become, if it's not pushed up yet, it will be coming soon. We're going to add a bunch of different features for the conditions, but right now, mainly yes or no questions, or let's see here. I'll give you an example. All right, so if the contract status is equal to. So you can do is equal to, and then choose one of the selections as well. So is equal to or yes or no, I think are the current, and then we'll add stuff as we go. Okay, so that's conditions. Does anyone have any other questions on conditions before I move over to triggers? Okay, perfect. Let's get into triggers because this is where the magic happens. So let me go ahead and actually I may have this open somewhere. My other tabs. Nope. All right, we'll stay here. Let me go ahead and open these up. And we are going to put an expand button on the screen so you can just expand all of these at the same time in case you're working on them. But for right now, I'm just going to manually do this. Okay, so all of them are open. So some of the examples here, if waived inspection period is equal to yes, then I want to delete out my whole repair section. So the Benzers are a repair request in Arizona, so I'm going to delete that out if they've already waived the inspection because we're not going to send this over to the seller asking for repairs if it's already waived. If the house was built prior to 1978 is equal to yes, then go ahead and add the lead-based paint field section. So there's a plus button here saying it's going to be added. As you can see in the triggers, you can choose when it's submitted by the agent, I want this to happen, or when it's approved internally by the TC, I want it to happen. So let's just say by the agent for this example. And then here are the functions that you can do. You can send an email, you can send a text message. So let's actually tackle these two first. I would not send emails and text messages with smart blocks and merge fields in them. That's highly dangerous. If you don't have the right fields filled out in your form, then your email is going to look very incomplete if it gets over there and the merge fields aren't filled out. So these are more for alerting your whole team that an intake form came in or thanking the agent for sending over the intake, but try to stay away from merge fields and smart blocks in these emails and text messages. Now you got three other choices. You can add or remove a template. You can add or remove a field section. So that's the whole section of fields. If you bounce back over, actually we'll bounce over here and open that up. So this would be this whole section. If I said I wanted property details to be added, then this whole section comes in. If I wanted it to be deleted, all these fields would be deleted at once. It's just a quicker way to go about doing what you're trying to do. And then templates, field sections, and then fields if you want to do individual fields. One of the higher level things that you can do here is if the appraisal has been waived. So you may want to delete out your entire appraisal section. But the buyer still has the right to do an appraisal. It's just not contingent. The contract's not contingent upon that appraisal. So you may want to add back in the two fields for appraisal requested time and appraisal confirmed time. So you want to make sure if you're doing that, then they are in order. So you want to remove the whole appraisal section here, and then you add the two fields back in that appraisal section here. So say there's 20 fields in that appraisal section, only 2 of them are going to show up after you remove the whole section and add the 2 back in. So it is helpful for some aspects. You can do it. You just have to watch your order of your triggers because it's going to do this one first, this one second, and so on and so forth. All right, so let's get to some examples. I'll go ahead and close that up. Come down here. These are all field sections. So you can add more than one. I know I have a lot of just one in here, but it's because of the condition. So this condition is our waive disclosure statement is yes. I'm going to take out the whole disclosure section. If I had something else contingent upon this particular condition, I can come in here and add, this and add that. And I can stack them up. I can have like 15 of them here. I'm not going to do that because that doesn't apply to the condition that I'm dealing with, but you can, as you'll see later. Oh, here's one right here. So this is a field section. So I'm going to bring in both these field sections. So loan status update and the appraisal. I'm going to get rid of these if it's equal to cash. So if it's equal to cash, go ahead and get rid of both these sections. And then if the financing type is equal to cash, go ahead and add back in those two sections. So that's what I was talking about earlier. I didn't even know I had this in here, but I'm adding back in the appraisal inspection requested and confirmed fields, just in case they want to order that. Okay, so that's an actual field. You can see a little acorn for fields. The stack of papers is for a field section. And then the templates, we'll go down and look at a template down here. Okay. So if the client contract type is equal to buyer, then I want to bring in my contract dates buyer template. So this is my template for buyer dates. If it's a buyer, it's going to go ahead and bring in that date template. Now, since it's the same as this one, I could have included this down here, but I just wanted to show you an example. This is if the contract client type is equal to buyer, go ahead and add in the task template for buyers and also add in my trigger template for buyers. Now, not everyone's going to have trigger templates. This is for the upgraded, fully automated $7 a transaction plan. So go ahead and ignore that if you're on a lower plan, but you will have the task templates that you have the triggers in. So that's what that is. And then here, I just added this so everyone could see what this is all about. I'm going to add a document template in called septic if the septic is checked yes by the agent. So those are your triggers. Do anyone have any questions on triggers before we do a sample form and then go through a transaction?
Nothing on triggers just yet, but we actually did have a question back on the conditions. Lucy wanted to know, how would you set up a condition where you can choose multiple options?
Okay. And I don't know if this is active yet either. I'm going to check with the dev team on this. If someone's watching this a month from now, it's probably active for you. But you could come in here and say, if contract client type is equal to buyer, and no, it's not active right now, so don't worry about that. So yeah, you can't do it that. You would have to do a multiple step kind of situation where you would say, you could do like greater than if both of them are, it just depends on the situation. Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, but you're not going to be able to put in multiple choices right now. What you may do is say, add in another field like I did here. So if this is yes, add in these two fields and then have another question here. And if this is yes, you could have a separate condition to add a couple more fields down there. But we can go over individual. If you're trying to accomplish something, go ahead and send me an email to the support email, and I can help you work through individual situations on this. Okay, I think we're at the time where we're going to go through an actual, so we looked at here, actually, let me give you one more look at the field so you can see what that looks like on the form. You can see the contract title, contract status, contract client type, they're all required, address is required, and then we have a couple fields that aren't required, like occupant type, property type, sale type. So let's take a look over here. Okay, and I apologize on Zoom, these run very slow. We're going to go ahead and choose this team. So because the agent isn't submitting this directly from their portal, I'm going to have to choose what team and what team user this is assigned to. Now, if the agent is submitting this from their portal, we already know this through the back end of the system. We're going to automatically assign this to the right person. So we'll choose Stewie on this one. We'll just type in a fictitious, let's say, Beverly Hills. It fills in the address automatically for you. And now you can see these ones were not required, so they're in black. These ones were required, so they're in red. We're just going to say this one is pending. We're going to say it's a buyer. We don't have to fill out any of this information. Do you have lockbox and property access information? If I said yes, this is my conditions, all these popped in, and now I can say, okay, I have the combo lockbox and I have the door keypad. If I said no, these would just, not come into the transaction. Okay, so I'm going to mark the acceptance date as yesterday. I'm going to say that I actually got the contract delivered today, just so you can see the difference there. Close of escrow, maybe he doesn't have that or doesn't want to fill it in. They don't have to fill these in because they're black. I do have this as a required field on the TC approval side, which we'll see in a second. Has the earnest money been arranged? If you said yes or no, actually this one doesn't have a thing to it, but this one does. Has the inspection been scheduled already? If I say yes, it's going to pop in. Was it confirmed? All that stuff. I'm going to just say reset I'm going to say no and pop that back out. So depending on what you choose, it's going to pop in or out. Inspection declined. No. Inspection period length. This is what I was talking about. So if it's something different than our boilerplate 10, they can go ahead and type it in here, and you'll see how the date template handles that and how the rest of the dates get updated and all the reminders and triggers. Is there a home warranty? I'm going to say no in the interest of time here. And then I'm going to say no to all these except for, I'm going to say there's a water well, and I'm going to say there's a septic, and let's say that it was built before 1978. So then you can just hit no. And these are the special conditions I make my agents fill out just because I have triggers for each one of these. So if it's a short sale, obviously it's a different process. If it's a 1031 exchange, I got to remember to do extra things. If it's a pre-foreclosure, I got to do some extra things, own solar, lease solar, you know, all the different special conditions. Now I also have additional terms in here. You don't need any of this if you don't want, but it really helps me on the automation side because now I can pull in and out templates based on what's happening in the transaction. So if they waive the insurance claims history, which is required in Arizona, or they waive the SPUDs, waived a loan status update, waived the inspection period. This is all telling my backend how to handle this, what fields to bring in, what templates to bring in, things like that. So I'm just going to say no. Cash deal with an appraisal contingency, that would add back in all that appraisal information. Because naturally with the cash deal, I'm stripping it out, and then this is going to tell it, put it back in. Non-refundable earnest deposit, so certain extra tasks that are going to go along with that. And then a finance deal with a waived appraisal contingency, obviously, you guys know what that is. I do end up putting these boxes. I add these boxes at the bottom of each section. So do you have any additional terms details for the TC? Do you have any special conditions details for the TC? You know, do you, I apologize. Let's see here. So let's go down here. And then I always just include a couple bigger ones. Do you have any additional information about the transaction for the TC? Okay, referral details, same thing. If you check yes, this information comes in. If you say no, it's not there. This is not required. I'll say no to this. And we'll go on to the, this may take a second since we're on Zoom.
Hey, Andrew, we might be a little bit too late with that button click there, but Eng is asking, how did you get the options to answer the questions in line yes or no instead of a drop-down menu?
Oh yeah, so in the field editor, let me see what we got here. Go over to here, so I don't ruin my pages here. So if you go over to the hammer icon, field editor, and then if you come down to one of those, let me scroll down to my special conditions so you can see. I have so many fields. Okay, here we go. So if I click on that field, you can see it asks you intake form display radio options. And so if you say yes, these are called radio buttons, the yes or no, and you can do that. It's a lot faster than doing a pull down menu every single time. And you can come over here and select your radio options. Now radio options are made for like yes, no, maybe. It is not made for like long lists of things. It's not made for really long worded answers, things like that. It will screw up all the formatting on there. You can test it out, but ideally it's just a yes or no or something short like that. All right. So here is the document section. I'm going to go ahead and just pull a couple from my desktop over here. I'm going to just drag and drop them over and let them sit right there. You know, pop in. So I got a septic addendum and I got a residential purchase contract that I'm going to add in. Now it did remind me because I said yes to the water well. I have it set to say, hey, if I say yes to there's a well on the property, go ahead and remind me that I do need this domestic water well addendum. I don't have it, so I'm going to skip that and it's not required. But it's also going to remind me that I need the well disclosure statement and I also need the addendum for the septic. So you can add these, you don't have to. I find them very useful for if you have a brand new agent that maybe is in the business less than a year or so. Having these are invaluable so that you're not tracking down documents for the rest of the transaction. Okay, so with this buyer form, I have a bunch of things that are required because in my initial emails that are going out, I have some of this information in that email. So I want to make sure that this gets filled out correctly. So these are all here. If they have them, they can put them in like that septic. I said there's yes to septic. So they have a chance to put in their recommended septic inspector if they want to. Now, the vendor list, because I didn't do this from the agent portal, my vendors aren't in here. So on an actual agent portal, you would have another add vendors here. And if they have follow-up boss, you would have a follow-up boss integration here. And they can actually just one-click add contacts to their transaction. So it is really fast. It takes less than a minute to get through this page. But in this case, I did it from the form. So we're going to go ahead and add them manually. And we'll just say AA. And put my information for everything. So go ahead and copy this. Okay, and if I did want to add it back to the portal, they can do that. If the agent's going to use this person again, they can go ahead and just go ahead and say add to the portal, and it'll be in there forever. So go ahead and add that one. Our transaction coordinator will just make BB. Same email.
Just while you're working on those, adding those contacts there, quick question from Lucy is there a way to share contacts that the TC might have with the agent portal users?
Yeah, we're actually working on trying to do some type of push information over to the agent, or I'm going to talk to the dev team about possibly putting on their like a CSV file that you could upload into the agent portal. So if you have, 50 agents, you can just send them the CSV file of what goes in there, and they can go ahead and just upload that file. Okay, one more. Okay, so once I get them all in there, it gives me the checkbox. No requireds here. Everyone comes down here with the appropriate contact role on it. So I'm going to go ahead and say next. It's going to take me to my review screen. This is going to tell me if I forgot to do anything that was required. It doesn't look that way. If you are on follow-up boss, it's going to go ahead and give you a link here to link this to your deals section in follow-up boss. And we're going to go ahead and submit this. All right, so now while I'm submitting this, all those triggers, it's looking through that trigger list and saying, what did you answer? And what do I need to add here? Do I need to add my date template? Do I need to add my document template? What do we need to do here? It's also going to give the agent a email address that they can email documents in. It's going to pop in the back end of the system if they ever email a document in, and it's going to alert you that there's an unapproved document. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And we are going to go, okay, so now we're going to switch over, and we're going to switch to Stewie's account, who is our transaction coordinator. So Stewie just got, let me check my, yep. Okay, so I just got a text message said you've received a new intake form submission for 1234 Beverly View Drive, and it's going to alert them. It is also going to, let's see here, did I make that Stewie? Let's see, refresh this. Okay. So there you go, it came in. I just had to refresh my account. I'm in two different browsers working here, so it's a little bit quicker. Shows me my documents that came in, so I can approve them here if I want. Shows me my intake submissions that I haven't approved yet. Tells me when it came in. Here's a property that I'm already working on. So you can come in, so your TC is gonna see this screen. They can also go to this screen, which is the intake form screen. So if they have a bunch of them lined up, they can work through them very quickly. We're gonna go back to the dashboard and just click on this. And it's gonna give us the TC approval side. So these are the fields that I requested or I required of my TC to put in before this becomes a transaction. So it's the purchase price. We're going to put in a close of escrow date. I'll just put it about a month out. Let's see here. Financing type is going to be conventional. Seller paid concessions, that's non-existent in this market, so we're gonna put 0. Okay, so here's something I do on my team you don't have to do. This is a good double check and overwrite of certain date fields. So in our disclosure statement, the response time from the seller response time to the buyer is 5 days. So we have to get back to them in 5 days. If they wrote in the counteroffer or the addenda that this is 7 days instead of 5, I can type in a 7 here, and this is going to overwrite the 5 everywhere I have it in the date templates, and it's going to readjust all my dates throughout the contract. So I'm going to put 7 in there. And then I have kind of as a placeholder here, I have my days that it normally is in the contract, just in case they don't see it in there. It wasn't in a counter offer. It wasn't an addendum changing it. We're going to go ahead and say 3. And I just have them go through and just make sure none of these dates have changed. All right, date the seller purchased the home. This has to do with the insurance claims history that we're required to do in Arizona. I'm just going to put a date back here. It doesn't really matter. And that's going to tell me what emails I need to send out based on when they bought the home. So 10. Okay, so all the standard dates are done. Now my file creation date. I do my file creation date because we have certain docs that can't be older than 30 days or older than 60 days. So what I do in here is I automatically calculate in my date template this minus 30 days, this minus 90 days, whatever the case may be. And then I say, if a certain date is less than this new calculated date, then automatically send an email to the seller requesting an updated version of that document. So some of the more advanced things that you can get into as you perfect the system. All right, I'm not going to do any special conditions. We'll just say NA. Oops. NA. And since I said there was septic, it's going to ask me for my septic fields also. So it's going to say, hey, who's paying this? We're going to say it's split. The septic inspection is normally 20 days in Arizona. We got 5 days to respond to the documents. So we'll go ahead and put that in. So here are my instructions. So this would say like, hey, don't forget to call this person. Don't forget to do this because it's, you know, just because. So I can check these off. Once you check them off, it goes away. Now I have 2 documents to review. I'm going to go in here and review my documents. So this is my purchase contract. Let's just pretend that everything is good. You can split it, download it, do all that kind of stuff. So when I change my file role, and I have a ton of file roles in here for every single document that could possibly come in Arizona, and I have my abbreviation that my team knows, plus I have it fully spelled out in parentheses so that if I have someone filling in and they don't know what I call the residential purchase contract, they can just start typing in, let's see here, residential, and they can find the residential purchase contract. It's fully executed, so they're going to choose this one. It's going to change the name to that. I can put tags on it. I can tell it where to go. I want this to be in my all contract documents, and everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and approve that document. And now I'm going to come down here and click on my septic document. I'm going to go ahead and find the appropriate, let's see here, septic on-site wastewater addendum, fully executed. It's going to change the name. I'm going to put it in my septic folder, and then I'm going to go ahead and approve it. Now, if I close that out, you can see that this came in. The flame means that I did set my file role on it. The paperclip means that there's an actual document in this placeholder. So you could have a placeholder here. If you don't want to upload docs to the system, I don't know why you wouldn't, because there's a lot of functionality and a lot of automation you can do with that. But if you decided this was just going to be for your reference, if it was missing or not, you can check that, and this updates up here. This is just telling you that that document is there and the file role has been set. So anything that is based off this file role is going to be ready, and the trigger is going to fire very soon. Okay.
Hey, Andrew, just real quick before you scroll down, we've had a quick question. It was right at the top. I just wanted to point it out for everybody. For that email that was generated for this transaction, when you come into that transaction right at the top there, property email, that'll be that same one that you can use yourself as well to send over those documents too.
Yep. There you go. Okay, so also in this screen, a couple different things. You can do this in the templates, but you can also do it here if you want to change your buttons. And oh, sorry, I'm in Stewie's account, so he doesn't have, I didn't give him permission to do that, but normally you would have permission to manage these buttons. You can also collapse everything, or you can expand everything and have the notes showing. You can put, you know, test note number 1 in here. You can have, you know, multiple lines. You can save or update. So if I come back in here and say update, I can go ahead and just update it. And you can leave this out, or you can hit this button options and it's going to roll back. So, okay. So we got everything in here. My intake form is still not approved because it's still telling me to verify that. I'm going to go ahead while I'm here because I didn't have an agent fill this out from their portal. I need to define which agent this is for. So I'm going to go in my access, and I'm going to go over here to agent portal users, and I'm going to actually test. Okay. Now it's going to process all my templates that I told it to. So once the TC approves this, all the triggers, it's going down this trigger menu and it's slowly doing everything one by one. So it's completed. Let's see here. So now I'm going to go over. So let me get rid of this now. And I'm going to go back over to our main account. And let's go ahead and everything. Oh, there we go. So Beverly Drive. Let me go ahead and click into that. All right. So here are our fields. So I told it in the triggers that if septic was checked yes, then I want my septic fields to come in. So if I search for my septic fields, you can search for them, but I'm just going to scroll down through here and look. So here are all my septic fields that came in. You can see all the dates are populating, and all the dates are populating off of what I typed in. So let me go back up to the top. We have our contract acceptance date. We have our contract delivery date. In Arizona, I have it set up to make this the date that holds my close of escrow date. And so now if I come down to my spuds due, this is 3 days after contract acceptance. So it took the contract acceptance, added 3 days, popped in that date. Now, when we go to our triggers, you'll see that maybe I have a reminder set 1 day before this is due to remind my agents to go ahead and send that document. Here are the dates, my template dates in here that it's calculating everything off of. Date seller purchased the house I put in there. Here's the date that this is due. This was, I believe, 5 days after, I think something like that. And then if you come down here, let's go down towards the bottom here. And here are the specialty dates that I put in: 30 days before contract acceptance and 6 months before contract acceptance. And these dates are going to hold and see, hey, if this document was submitted or issued before this date, I want an automatic email to go out to the listing agent, letting them know that they need to give me an updated version. Okay, so you kind of get the picture. All the dates came in correct. It calculated all the dates that I could possibly calculate, my septic pumping due, all that good stuff. All that is in there. So let's go over to tasks. So tasks, I told it to bring in if, I can't remember what the condition was right off the top of my head, but I had it bring in the buyer Arizona task template. So you can see that that was added today. So this is my Arizona buyer task template, has my triggers, has all my tags, my roles of who's assigned to it. All that came in fine. So if you want to, a new option that is just added, if you go into the options, now you can do it kind of like TC Workflow, where you can delete out that whole, just the buyer Arizona tasks. Okay, so task worked. Let's go over to my trigger. Actually, let's skip that and go back. So my documents tab, we already looked at this, but I had this come in if septic was yes, and I just put tests just so you guys could see it. Anyway, that came in successfully. So that came in. All my contacts are in there with all the different contact roles. So all that's good. I didn't have any notes.
Just to quickly clarify here, because just go back to those dates that you were showing. I was wondering if you could clarify how you got the dates to auto-calculate. Excuse me, auto-calculate, which would be when you set up the intake form initially, usually those the date templates. But
yeah, so over here in templates, come down here to date templates. I assign my AAR residential resale contract dates template. And so now I have every single date in our contract and every addenda in here just in case. So my septic addendum, because that came in, that's 20 calendar days after the contract delivery date. So 20 calendar days after contract delivery date. This is my fallback date. This is what I was talking about when I typed in that 15 for the inspection period. So let me actually find the inspection period. That might make more sense if I'm actually on the right one. Okay, inspection period. Here's that inspection period length. So I typed 15 in here. So what it does is it replaces the 10 with a 15. So now it's taking the acceptance date or the delivery date plus 15 days instead of the 10 days that I have in my template. So this fallback field is super, super powerful so that you can have your TCs checking the contract and make sure that if dates change in the counteroffers or addenda or wherever, you can fill in this field and it's going to overwrite everything that it's contingent upon. Same thing down here. Here's those weekend rolls that you can roll back, roll forward. So hopefully that explains how all those dates populated. It just basically ripped through this and it looked at every single one of these and said, Okay, this is 3 days after contract delivery date. Let's go ahead and pop that in. This is 3 days, 3 days before close of escrow, pop that in. 5 days after solar lease. You know, it just goes down the line and starts popping all those in.
So I was thinking, but while you're still on that screen, sorry, I don't want to mess you up here, but go back to that and go to the agent intake form. And then if you just want to pop up one of those. So as he was showing you the date template there, but when you are setting this up, oh, where is it? I think I just confused myself. When you have the different templates that you'd apply, the date templates, the task templates, the property templates, all that fun stuff.
Let's see here. Here you go. So if my client contract type was equal to buyer, which it was, I chose buyer in my form, it brought in this trigger template, this task template that you saw come in, that buyer Arizona, and then this one right here, I believe is the other one. Yeah, if it's equal to buyer, go ahead and bring in that date template. And that was the date template that calculated all the dates. So hopefully that explains it.
Yeah, I just want to show how those pieces came together when you're creating those date templates and things like that, and then it's all coming together into the form. So
yeah, definitely. All these, so basically all it's doing is when these things are submitted, and like I said, you have the choice of when these things happen, after the agent submits the form or after it's approved internally. And then all it does is go down each one of these and read it and say, waived inspection period is equal to yes. If that's true, then we're going to take this section out. If it's not true, we'll go ahead and leave it in. And then it goes to the next one. If the house was built prior to 1978, lead-based paint's coming in. So, and I believe I did say lead-based paint was supposed to come in this transaction. So if I go over to my transaction and I look down here, I should have a lead-based paint section. So here, and it's due on this date. So there you go. Okay, so tasks, like I said, they come in with all your triggers. You can set as many of these to come in. It doesn't have to be just one. I recommend highly that you segment these on a smaller scale. So you're bringing in 2 to 10 tasks per template so that you have a lot of flexibility on the automation. So if this is true, bring in these 10. If septic is true, then just bring in my septic tasks. If there's a well, just bring in my well tasks. You're always going to have your base task, but then you can add on to that and layer extra templates on top of that. So that's very helpful when you're bringing in these. So 90% of the people on the program are going to bring in task templates, date templates, let's see, date templates, email templates, things like that. Now for the 10%, I'm going to switch over and show you triggers, even though a lot of people aren't using the triggers. This is an extra fee, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how this is full automation. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And as you can see, I have 125 triggers that are in process. So for some reason, these don't qualify right now. So this is if we had an unrepresented seller. So I'm the buyer agent on the property, but on the other side, the seller chose not to be represented. It's a for sale by owner, whatever the case may be. The only way this trigger comes in is if there's an unrepresented seller that exists in the property. I know that's never going to happen, so I can go ahead and just delete this out. And we can go to the next one and look at why this one didn't come in. This is an acceptor offer sent to the buyer agent email. The buyer's agent doesn't exist yet. I forgot to put the buyer agent in. So this is going to alert me to go back over to my contacts. As soon as I enter that buyer agent, so let's just do it. Go ahead and create a contact. Or actually, we can just add one. Let me just say, hey, add that in. Oh, he's already in there. So let me go ahead and add a different one. So let me just say, this guy, I'll bring him in and we'll say he is the buyer agent. Oh, there it is right there. Go ahead and add him in. And now if we come over to triggers and we'll go back down here, Beverly. There you go. Okay, so going back to the triggers, now if I come over here, as you can see, that 5th one popped in. There was only 4 that were ready to go before. Now because I did that, now my buyer's agent property address is going to go ahead and send that out as well because all the conditions are met. So if I come in here and look at this individual condition, I can see that this is my accepted offer email to my buyer. So if I look at that email, I can pull that up, I can render it, take a look at that email. Zoom. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's my email. It came in with all my dates, popped in all my dates. It actually added this. This was a smart block. So this was a smart block saying if the acceptance date is different from the delivery date, go ahead and add this sentence explaining that the contract acceptance date for calculating time periods is actually the delivery date. Something a lot of Arizona realtors overlook, and so we like to point it out in the initial email. So the buyer transaction coordinator was BB, so I didn't put a full name in here. Put some information about the transaction coordinator for Jonathan, blah, blah, blah. It added in my information down here for my escrow agent, added all the information for lender and insurance and everything else. So that email is ready to go out automatically based on just the fields that I filled out. So now when your TC comes in and they're approving a file, if you're on the fully automated plan, all they do, is approve the transaction, come into the triggers and say, yes, this is ready to fire. I'm going to go ahead and preview it. You can preview it here. You can see what wasn't rendered here. It would be big in red if something didn't come in. In this case, everything was available. And then all you would do is just send this email. And I don't want to do that because I think I added someone from Bank of America on this one, so I don't want them to get a weird email. But this would be sent out just by sending that. So now you can send emails very quickly. I can get through the approval process and send out my opening emails in less than 5 minutes. So if I come down here, I can see that the accepted offer going to the listing agent, all these conditions have been met already. I can preview it. It's going to pop up my preview of this. I can scroll down, and now here you can see that my smart block accepted offer and buyer co-agent. We don't have a buyer co-agent, so that's okay that it didn't come in. Buyer transaction coordinator phone number didn't come in because I didn't fill out my contacts completely. And my smart block accepted offer change status of MLS didn't come in. And I'm not even sure what this email is, to tell you the truth. So I'm not sure why that didn't work, but it may or may not have been needed. It went ahead and attached these files, and I would have hit send and it's ready to go. So these, as soon as I would send them, these would go away. And then it would say I have 4, 3, 2, 1 emails left. And then these are the ones that are coming up. So if I look at my playbook, you can also go to your playbook and look at your automation triggers and see what's coming, all the different conditions in here. You can preview them from here. You can send them from here. So there's a lot of different ways. You can look at your task triggers and see what task triggers are available and why they didn't go out. And then you can also see your priorities of everything that's due today. So all my accepted offer emails came in here, so you can process them from the screen as well. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. So feel free to ask as many questions as you want, and we will go through as much as you like.
Excuse me. Just really quickly with the dates, and if something wasn't calculated, can you just highlight how somebody might manually plug in those dates?
You mean like if I change a date that is contingent upon another date, like if I change the acceptance date, it will recalculate everything? Or you mean if you just want to put in like a date, just a manual date here?
Yeah, literally just a manual date. Like, so if there's something missing, I need to fill that in. It's wasn't filled in because of however the triggers were.
Yeah. So I have all my contacts that I can push this up to their API calendars. I can just put in a date. So I could say like the 25th if I wanted, or I could come down here and say, I want this to be contingent. So this date, I want it to be always 5, or here's my fallback field. I'm not going to put that in right now, but 5 calendar days after contract acceptance. And so I can do it that way, and I can have it roll back or roll forward and do that stuff too, but we'll go ahead and say save. And now that earnest money is 228 because it calculated the 5 days from the 23rd. So
excellent. And just a quick question about those red lightning bolts there. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, so lightning bolts, you're probably not going to see these unless you're on the trigger plan. So these are letting me know that they're in my triggers. So the triggers that are ready to go out, this information is in these emails somewhere. So I want to make sure that these are filled out so that these get filled out correctly. And just to show you a manual one on the dates, if you just select a date and hit save, it'll just come in like that. What I do a lot is I'll do my because I don't work off tasks, because I have the fully automated trigger plan, what I do is I have a date for, whoops, sorry about that. What I do is I have a date for when I receive things. So, and then it will automatically calculate 5 or 10 or however many days I have to get it back to the other party. So if I receive from seller, if I went ahead and plugged that in, that it was today, I'm going to go ahead and put the 24th it was received, and I hit save. Now this one popped in. So now I know that my review period is over, you know, however many, I think I typed in 7 on this one. So 7 days after this will be due, or 5 days after, or whatever I put in there. So you can have dates that are contingent upon other dates that just aren't filled out until you actually fill out that, date. So here, Spuds sent to seller. If I pop that in, all my dates are in here so that they'll automatically calculate. And then what's going to happen is once I fill them out and it calculates the date I have to get it back to them, then over in my, here, let me do this, get rid of that. Over in my triggers now, I have all these dates that are just waiting for me to put in a date. And if I put in that date, it's going to activate this email that's automatically going to go out to my escrow officer, or my lender, or my seller, or whatever. So if you do use the trigger plan, you can get your transactions down probably at least 1/5 of the time that you're spending on transactions now, just because of all the automation. It automatically popping in here. It automatically pops up here and tells you how many emails and texts you have to send. And then you can always look at this health bar from your property screen. And so if you're on your property screen and you have a list of, let me see here, let me take that out. So you would normally have, 100 transactions going on, or 50 transactions going on, or however many you're processing at the time. You can just look down here and look for red. And I know if there's red here that there's something due today. So I open that up and I can see all my things that I need to take care of before today's out. So we call it no red before bed. We want to clear out all our red and all our properties before we go to sleep that night.
All right. Amy had a question here, and I was going to see if he could unmute himself and go ahead and ask that directly, just to make sure we get a good understanding of what he's wanting to know. So, Amy, are you able to unmute yourself there?
I think you have to maybe unmute him. I think I turned off the unmute.
Let's see. Looks like I thought I turned it off, but well, you might as well just go ahead and try to jump into it. He was just asking, in the intake form, there was an option to put in a date. Just curious what that did. Does it overwrite the template date?
Yeah, it does. So if the date in the date template, so going back over here, if you look in that date template and you see that, so my boilerplate in my Arizona contract, it says the solar docs are due 3 days, calendar days after the contract delivery date. But if someone came in and said, I need 5 days, I'm out of state, I'm flying in, it's going to take me a little while to get those to you, whatever. Then in this solar disclosure delivery period, which is a custom field that I created myself, you can create whatever you want here. And then you have your TC type that number in. So if say they want 10 days, basically all it's going to do is overwrite this 3 and make it a 10. So now it's going to be 10 calendar days after contract delivery date. Anything that's contingent upon this date is also going to change based on, it's going to go 10 days and then maybe 5 days after that for a different date that you have set up.
Oh.
Yeah, very, very powerful. Now our TCs are basically just field fillers. They're really not doing anything else besides managing fields. So when they're in here, let me get to a screen where we have one. So basically what they do is they're just living in here all day and they're saying, hey, I received this document. I'm going to go and put in the date that I received it. It's automatically going to calculate the date that it's due back. It's automatically going to send out the email with that document attached to it to my buyer for whatever I need from them. As soon as they fill out their part, I put in the date that I received it back from my buyer. It's going to calculate the date that it goes back to the seller, and it's going to automatically send that email or at least queue it up here. So a lot of automation that you can put in here so you can get those transaction times down in, a 1/5 or a 10th of the time.
So Andrew, if I'm understanding that right, so then essentially like if you have an inspection and it's 3 days instead of 5 in your default template, then you can set up your intake form to put that date and it will override the standard dates?
Correct. They're called fallback dates in the date template. So look for those when you're setting up your date templates. You just create a field called inspection period length. Okay. And
Okay.
then say it's typically 10 days, but you have another field called inspection period length. If it's in the counteroffer that they need 15, you just have your TC, be cognizant of that and type it in their approval process. How many days is the actual inspection period? They already checked the counteroffer. They put 15 in. It's going to overwrite the 10 and it's going to update all the dates in the whole transaction.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. And the cool thing about the trigger piece is that now you can say 1 day before end of inspection period, send an email to the buyer letting them know that they only have 24 hours left and they need to get that information over. The cool thing about that is it's not going to go out if they've already sent it to you. So you can set these reminders and you can say, if, let me find one with a file roll. Oh, well, a lot of fields. Let me go down. Well, this is good. You guys can pause it on here and see some examples of things that we do. Anyway, I'm not going to find one, but if the file roll is missing from the property, then go ahead and continue to send this reminder email. As soon as you download that you received it from the buyer or seller, it's going to kill this because if it's missing, well, now it exists. So it's going to say, you never need to send out this trigger. This reminder is done because we already received the document. So you can set up all your reminders, all your emails, automatically attach, automatically send to the right person. And you can do all that through triggers. And right now what it does is it just queues them up when they're ready and turns this red so that it doesn't automatically send them in the sense that it's just going to fire them off, because I like to preview them and just take one final look at them before they go out and just make sure that everything looks okay. And also when you open these up, it's also going to give you these so you can check and make sure they make sense. Oh, shoot, I forgot the buyer transaction coordinator phone number. Let's not send this yet. Let me go over and actually put that in and then come back over here and send this email. So if you made a mistake, it's going to catch you.
All right. Awesome. We do have a question here from Jill as well, so I'm going to try to get her to unmute. There we go.
And of course, that's when my dogs decide to start barking. Sorry. They were quiet this whole time. I think I know the question or the answer to this already, but I just want to make sure that I'm not missing something. So as you know, Andrew, we are just having our intake person use the agent intake form for right now. So when we're going through and adding contacts, there's no way to pull, like, here's the contacts that are already in our system. We should probably just add them on the contacts tab when we're done. Is that correct?
Yeah, or what you could do instead of doing the create property and adding through the, sorry, let me get my thoughts together here. Instead of creating a new property through the property screen or the widget screen where it says add property, you can actually super use your agent's accounts. So you can come over here to, let me just get out of here. You can come over here, have your TC come over to the organization. You still create your agent accounts for your agents. But then you just come over here and say, hey, I want to get into Stewie's account, and you just hit that little switch button and it's going to come over here
With their vendors.
and it's going to log you into their actual account. And then, oh, Stewie is a TC, I'm sorry. But
Right.
if you went into the agent account, you have the same options, and then it would show the agent portal. And then you could actually fill out a form from their agent portal so that you have all their vendors, you have all their passwords, you have everything in there. You have their link to follow up us if they have it, you have everything.
Gotcha. Okay, then 2 follow-up questions to that. One, when we're adding contacts in, or maybe they're in the portal, but they're not in there, is there any way to add a contact like we could in TC Workflow where it doesn't add it to our contact list, it only adds it to that transaction?
Not right now, but
Okay.
but we are working on it, and
Okay.
we're actually working on a couple things where, and I'm not sure if this happened yet. I was talking to Shane the other day, and I think he put this in. But if a contact comes in and it's a duplicate with the same email address, it is actually going to pop up a little window and say, "Hey,
That would be
you have
awesome.
a duplicate here, and do you want to merge these, or do you want to continue them being separate?"
Tell him I'll buy him beer or whatever he wants if he gets that done, because that would be awesome to clean
Right?
up our like 20,000 contacts on our list. Okay, and then, so adding the agent portals, and I may be wrong, and hopefully, but we weren't going to invite all of our agents to the portals or set up the agents because we didn't want them getting emails until the system was like solid and ready to use.
Yeah.
Can we still add them without them getting those invites?
Yeah, you can just add them and use you're on Google, right?
As far as Google Drive, you mean?
Yeah, Google, like you use Google Workspace, Google Drive, Google Calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a little workaround that you can do. You can come over to organization. You can add an agent portal user. You can put the agent name in, and then you can use one of your email addresses for your company. You don't actually have to create an email address and pay for it. What you do is any email in Google that you send. So say I send an email to A123 at open to close. It's going to go to our company account. So what you can do is you can just create like a dummy email and then assign it to that agent. You could actually put their name at your domain site, and it's actually going to send you the email, and then you can just automatically delete it out through a rule or something. I can help you with all that stuff.
All right, cool. That'll be for our next call. I'll make a note.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
We have one more question here. I think we might have covered it, but just want to make sure we do kind of expand on that a little bit. Lucy was asking, is there a place where she could see all of the transactions, queued emails, and triggers?
Yes. Right here. So like, if you're in a property and you're in the property screen or the widget screen, you're going to see this. So you got a couple things here that you can look in, but also this health bar is what you want to pull up. It's going to have all your priorities for the day that are ready to go. So you can see they're all due today. We call this due 1, 2, just due today, due tomorrow, due in 2 days. You'll see the reds, the ones are oranges, and the blues are 2. And so you can pull up everything that you need to do today. You can come over to your automation triggers. If you have the fully automated plan, which I know you're going to be on here as soon as I turn it on, Lucy. So you'll have this to see all your automation. And then you'll also have your task triggers. So any of the triggers that are in the task, you can separate those in case you want to see which is which. But anything due today will come over to here. Just more detail in here. So if you come into the automation trigger, it's actually going to tell you all your conditions, and it's going to, you can see these are red. That means that the escrow number is blank. If I come over here to this property, which is Beverly View, and I say search fields, escrow number, and I fill in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's an easy way to put in fields if you know exactly just one field that you want to do. And then come over here. Just got to refresh that screen. And now I come down and earnest money is not blank. So this one's going to be ready to go. So, and it's immediate. If these two things, if this is not blank and this is not blank, earnest money receipt received. I don't know if I typed that in. I guess I did because it's not red. So now, let's see here. That might be this one. No, it's not that one. Where is it? Anyway, so all your automation stuff from your trigger menu is here. All your task menu is here. And then all of this stuff without the details is here. So this is just a quick open preview and send. This is if you want to get down into the details of, when it was sent, task completed. If this task is completed, send automatically, and then you can preview it here as well. Yeah, that health bar is a saver. When your TCs are working on properties, now they can go to the properties tab and they can just work through all this red. They'll just have a list of 20, 30, 40, 50, however many properties you have going on at the same time. And they can just click on this, work through the reds, go to the next one, work through the reds, and just knock out all that red. You can also do this too, just so everyone knows, go to the task pipeline. And when you're in the task pipeline, let me see, did I click that? Okay, here you go. So now you can say, let me see everything that Lois has to do, or Peter has to do, or Stewie has to do. And then also segment it down to just my escrow tasks, and also segment it down to just escrow tasks that are green, or just due today, due tomorrow, due in 2 days, due in 3 days. And you can just work through these based on if you like to batch tasks and do all your opening tasks or all your escrow tasks together. So this tab is helpful. My TCs in the past preferred to use the property screen and just work through the red, but it's really personal preference.
I love your mantra. I kind of repeat this to a lot of clients. It's no red before bed. Check out that help bar, look for that red. You know what needs to get done. Either it's past due or it's due today and needs to get done.
Yeah, red's important. And if you guys are, I mean, if you're running a business where you guys are cutting out at 3 o'clock, then don't set triggers to queue up at 5 o'clock at night, or else you're going to have to come in and, you know, check things at 6, because that's going to turn red as soon as that 5 o'clock hits. So depending on your work hours and what your business looks like, I know in this market, everyone's probably working, you know, 16 hours a day, but in a normal market, if you have certain times that you work and you're not working past a certain time, just be cognizant of that when you're setting up your tasks and you're setting up your triggers, that you're not setting things for later in the day when you're not going to see them. Because if it's something important that needs to go out that day, like the end of a contingency period, you're going to totally, you know, miss it.
All right. I'm not saying questions. I think we might have broke everybody's brain with all that information, but
Well, it's going to be recorded, or it is recorded. So it'll be in the help menu soon, probably tomorrow, midday. And we'll get that up. You can rewatch it. You can use it as a reference. If anyone has any specific questions that they think of tonight, they wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, oh, I got a new question, feel free to reach out to me and we'll get all those answered. Cool. Well, thanks for everyone for coming. I'm going to hang out here for about another, I don't know, 8 minutes. I'll hang out till 1:50 my time, and I'll hang out just in case anyone thinks of a new question. Otherwise, I will get this. Matthew will actually get it up on the help screen soon, so you guys can refer back to it. So thanks everyone for coming.
thanks, everyone. Hey, Jenny, I think I just saw you just happen to pop in. If you have any questions, feel free to just go and shout those out. We could either unmute you and we could chat, or throw those into the chat box here. But just want to give you a little hello.
Hey guys, I have a quick question on an intake form, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I have an intake form, and it's one of the required fields that it's giving me is a home inspection, which I'm assuming I added at some point, but it's not in my fields or in my in the trigger template or anything like that. And it's not letting me move forward. So like you click on the option and it's giving me an error message, and I'm not sure how to fix it or where it might be.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning because I don't think I understood. Okay, so one piece at a time. So you have a field in an intake form. Is that correct?
Correct. I'm assuming, so like when you submit the intake form and you have that list of required things that you need to complete before you can like accept the transaction or whatnot.
Yeah.
So that screen, there's an option on mine that says home inspection. And then when I choose the drop down, like you kind of do with all the other ones, it gives me an error message instead of letting me actually select it. It says there's an issue saving this value. The field cannot be updated. And
do you have open to close open by chance right now that you could go into it?
Yeah, I have it open right now.
Go into your field editor under the hammer icon, field editor.
Okay.
And then try to find that field. It exists in there somewhere if it's showing.
See, that's the thing that's strange is I know how to search the program. Like you can search for an actual word. And when I go to search the word, there's actually no matching thing. It's only inspection, which doesn't give me those yes or no. So I feel like it might have been on there before and I deleted it, and it's not deleting it out of my intake form.
Interesting. Maybe what we'll do is after this, I'm going to hang out for another 5 minutes just to make sure no one else has any questions. And then maybe we can, I can jump into your account and I can just talk with you over the phone and we can kind of work through it.
Okay, cool.
Okay. In the chat, if you just want to send a message directly to me and give me your phone number, I'll go ahead and write it down and then I'll give you a call as soon as I end this one.
Okay, sounds good. I'll do it now.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, I think that's pretty much going to wrap up the last questions. We're just the last of the Mohicans here now.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and end it then, and I'll give her a call about her intake form question, and then I'll follow up with you after that, Matthew.
Okay. Yep. Just shoot me that video. There's a few people that are asking about the recording and stuff. So just when we get that, I can start getting on that process too.
What was that? They're asking about what?
Oh, the recording for this session.
Oh, yeah. As soon as it downloads, I'll go ahead and upload it to our drive, and you'll know where to find it.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Appreciate it.